It's good to be back at the weekend. I'm Tich Mataz. This is Coca-Cola on the beat, and it looks like the rains are going to be pouring down this season. Don't you worry. It's going to be the bomber today. We have special guests coming through on the show. Members of Channel O in the country. We'll be having a chat with them as the show progresses. The top 5 video countdown is happening. The address is PO Box CY 1159, close in the capital. We got into the show with a little help from Maya, the new album, simply entitled The Fear of Flying, which means you'll never come to Zimbabwe in the case of the ex. We're going to keep it with the ladies.
Start up the phonograph.
Tich, bring me back to that moment. What happened, Tich? Because I think there's every other version on what happened, but never your version. What happened, Tich?
Let me put it this way. When I was in Deportation, I was a resident. They'd done my papers, so I had South African residency in Botswana. When Botswana then went back into South Africa, my papers were all in order. Yeah. I then approached a specific person who was doing my paperwork at the time, and we tried to get my papers from Botswana turned into South African papers. True story. But as I was saying, I was young. And this guy said to me, there were a lot of difficulties. He had done what he needed to do. And he gave me a set of papers, which at the time I thought, everything is cool, everything is fine. And I got a South African ID. And when I got a South African ID, there was amnesty paperwork needed for people who had, the system in South Africa knew that there were problems within the allocation of IDs and so on and so forth, and there was amnesty. So I went and I applied for amnesty. And I said, listen, this was my paperwork in Botswana, this is my paperwork in South Africa. But some of the information on my paperwork in South Africa is incorrect because they were using a specific system. Yeah? And they said to me they'll sort it out. 2 months later, nothing had happened. And now I needed to travel. I needed to travel for some work outside of the country. And I went to them and I said, listen.
Which country was this?
I was supposed to have gone to Burkina Faso, I think, or something like that. And I no longer had a passport, so I could not travel. So I went and I said, listen, can you please sort this out? And they referred me to Pretoria, the head office. And took my lawyer with me, and they asked me, they said, listen, this is fine. We know who you are. Write an affidavit, I wrote an affidavit. So, well, we should be able to process all this work for you and the stuff. So I thought that was what was going to happen. And when I got home, I was confronted by people who had come from Home Affairs. And then it became an issue.
What kind of confrontation was this?
It was, hey, Mr. Mataz, we have your file, you acquired your status and everything illegally. I said, but speak to my lawyer, I've just been to the Foreign Affairs, they were supposed to fix it. I gave them all the paperwork, but it didn't work. They said to me, go back to your port of entry, which was Zimbabwe, and then we can work it from there. So I flew back into the country. As soon as I got into Zimbabwe, it was all over the place.
Because this is the version that is told.
Yeah. That
Tich, you were literally told that you got 24 hours to get out of South Africa at the time. You're not taking anything, or like literally everything is here now. So when you got deported, family is still in South Africa, right? Take me through that time. What's just happening in your life? And who told you that you had been deported?
So I come into Zimbabwe and I go to the South African embassy. And I'm saying to the South African embassy, I'm here to sort out, to regularize all the issues that I'd had. It didn't work. As you get older, you realize that sometimes people are not who they say they are, and people will make promises which they will not fulfill, and that kind of thing. It was devastating, not just for myself. It was devastating for my family, for my wife, for my kids. Thank God, you know, I survived that you know, onslaught on me, my person, my family, and my environment. Because some people would not have survived that kind of experience.
So Tich, you fly back to Zim, and you go to the South African embassy, and the news has already started spreading in South Africa that you've been deported and everything. But you've got bank accounts there, you've got properties there, you've got clubs, you've got endorsement deals, and like you're rightfully saying, you Kulumani Communications had tendered and had been given the gig to cover the 1998 World Cup. Now, hold up a second. What happens to all of that?
Lost.
How much can you say you were worth at the time in assets, in everything?
Maybe $3 million or something.
And
gone.
And at the time, $3 million could be...
it could be a lot more now.
It could be a lot more now. And it just got lost. You never recovered anything? Not a vehicle? Nothing?
No. You know, because you think that systems work in the manner that they should, sometimes you say, okay, let me go the right route. Let me fix things. Didn't happen. And so it was a huge loss. But come to think of it, everything happens for a reason. I then came back into Zimbabwe. Dusted myself up.
Who are some of the people who are calling you from?
Oh, a lot of my friends. I have friends, I have family. You know, there's a specific period of my life that I spent in South Africa and made contacts and created relationships that still work today. And I'm grateful for that. But you know, the funny thing is those experiences speak to a lot of people and a lot of environments, not just in Zimbabwe, not just in South Africa, but all across the African continent. To a point, these experiences are learning curves. And hopefully not just for me, but for people such as yourself, that you need to be able to understand when you get into an environment, you need to, don't be myopic. Look around, listen, hear, understand, and learn how to work within the confines of that environment. I've learned this over time. Right now, I'm sitting on a huge project. I've kept it secret for 8 years. It's about to explode. If it was younger me...
Where the speakers at?
Where the speakers at? Where's the microphone, man? I want too autistic.
But Tish, what was the most heartbreaking thing about your South African experience?
It's the breakup of the family. Yeah, it affected the core of my relationship. Later on, we worked things out, but you know, it broke us up.
Your marriage then?
Yeah, my marriage suffered.
So you're breaking up with South Africa, but you're also breaking up with your wife then?
Yeah, with my wife.
That should have been devastating.
It's crazy.
But interesting enough, you came back home.
Yeah.
And you literally went back to work.
Yeah.
So where was the grieving in that period?
I think the grieving really was caused by the rapid change of environment, of income, of friends, of relations.
Because here you are, you're living in a millionaire type bracket.
Yeah.
Brenda Fassi is a call away.
This is a
Hey, let's go hang out at Chico's, man. You're driving that X5.
yeah, do you know what I mean?
And things are happening.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden you come back home and it's no longer the millionaire status anymore.
Now you got to say, okay, right. How much money do we have? No, we can't go. We cannot go to Italy, darling. We can go to Inyanga, but not Italy. What was the lesson? I think the lesson really is in learning how to work at things, learning how to not take things for granted. Do you know what I mean? There's some things I took for granted, and I thought, hey, people don't understand. Life doesn't work like that. Learning how to read the small print. Learning how to check and double check to ensure that things are supposed to be in the places they're meant to be. Learning how to deal with different ministries, different persons of authority, learning how to manage crisis, learning how to get up when you fall.
So how long did it take you? Because you were deported in March 1998.
Yeah.
What happens to the contract, the Kulumani Communications contract?
It remained. I went, I fulfilled the contract. I went to France. I was in France through the entire period of the World
June,
Cup.
July, yeah.
June, July. Had a fantastic time.
What about the money? Did you get paid the money?
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah. Dude, I get paid by money.
But is it not getting paid in Zimbabwe or it's...
I had an account in the UK at the time, so yeah.
Plus you're still partners at
Yes, still like
Kulumani
partners in
Communications.
South Africa.
But you also had issues with Thabo Mbeki. When Thabo Mbeki was like, nah, why you having this dude when he's that guy?
Yeah.
What was that situation?
Yeah.
What really happened?
It was the right thing for the president then to say. Do you know what I mean? Because the president does not only speak for himself, he also speaks for his people.
That's true.
Yeah. So that was the right thing to do and say. Yeah.
What had happened for it to get to that place?
The president came to the then president came to the World Cup in France, and he was looking forward to seeing everybody who was involved in bringing the sport back to the South Africans in South Africa, and we were supposed to have greeted the president, and one of the things he did is he refused to speak with me, but I understood. It's one of those things.
Well, now that you're a grown man,
yes,
then you really did much understand that.
Yeah.
So you come back home and you establish. In fact, let me not say it for you. What are the first things you did in your getting back up process? Because there are a lot of key things you did there. Because a lot of people who remember you from back home don't remember you from the 88 to 91.
Yes,
they remember you from 98 going up.
Yeah.
Especially here in Zim.
Yeah.
What were some of the things you did to get back up?
Some of the things I really needed to do was I needed to reestablish my brand in Zimbabwe, because I'd spent quite a few years outside of the country, and every 5-7 years listenership changes, patterns change, people grow, they become other people. If a guy is listening to you when they're 15, 5 years or 7 years later, they may not necessarily be listening to you, because of different changes as people grow and mutate. When I came back into Zimbabwe, I established Kulumani Communications Zimbabwe.
Right.
Stand by for action.
Yo, how you doing? Welcome to the show. I'm Tich Mataz. This is Coca-Cola on the Beat, the hottest and the fattest video show on ZTV today. A couple of friends are going to be dropping by to tell us about their interest in music. There's a very talented young Zimbabwean. His name is Crystals. He has one or two songs that are out and a brand new album. He's going to be talking about that a little later on. The top 5 video countdown, you know, the address CY 1159 Causeway in the capital. And on the show today, the latest Boys to Men, the latest De La Soul, and now
Got another club in Zim going at the time.
Which club was this?
The Tich Mataz collection in Islay. And we also had another one in Bulawayo for a little while. And then I started to harness some of the contacts I still had in South Africa and in other parts of the world. So I did some work across Africa with an organization out of South Africa at the time. It was TV Africa. Huge contract, made me travel a lot of African countries. But you see, my home environment had changed. My wife had left. She was in the UK, I was with the kids, that kind of thing, back in Zim. But business was good, you know. I won a contract to produce and work with Coca-Cola. I was the first indigenous company to do Coca-Cola productions on behalf of Coca-Cola Central and Southern Africa, something that had never happened. And there, you know, Coca-Cola on the Beat continued that kind of thing. I was grateful for that. Did a lot of work with government in Zim and other countries. I went into Botswana with Yaron FM. I went into Zambia with a couple of radio stations in Zambia. I went I went to the UK, things like that. I continued to do what I do best, which is broadcasting.
Kulumani Communications had a lot of key contracts, Coca-Cola being one of them, like you rightfully mentioned. But at a certain point, Kulumani Communications, it existed, and literally overnight, it didn't exist anymore. What happened?
It was in Zimbabwe, it was during an era where Professor Jonathan Moyo was the Minister of Broadcasting.
Right.
And one of the things he wanted to do is he wanted to provide shock treatment to Zimbabwean listeners and viewers. I remember he created songs for the party,
Jingles,
for
everything.
the party, and that kind of thing. We're going towards elections, and one of the things they felt was a lot of the people who were driving advertising at the time, including Kulumani Communications, were working against the government. So most of the contracts that we had with ZBC were cancelled overnight, and it adversely affected our income, you know. So we had to redirect the business, reposition the brand, and go a different route.
When you guys stepped into the advertising space as Kulumani Communications in Zimbabwe, the advertising industry was very still white dominated.
Yes.
Tell me about that time.
We were competing against some really big players. I mean, one of the contracts that we eventually got was for Dairy Board as well. The Dairy Board was trying to jazz up their products and their look, their sound, you know, and we did well. But like you rightfully are saying, is some of the major advertising companies were ganging up against this group of young black Zimbabweans who were trying to change how things were done in the country.
And you guys,
it's normal.
And you guys overcame that. What were some of the things that made you guys stand up? And I believe one of your business partners at the time Ozias Mvute, who's also your cousin.
Yes.
Right? Who was doing what at the time? What was the role?
Ozias Mvute had just come back from overseas, graduated, very sharp guy, still is, and we got together and he said to me, my brother, I know you when it comes to putting together the look and the style and the feel of products, you're good at that. So he brought in, having been a banker himself and started and interacted with similar companies overseas. He brought a different dimension to what we were trying to achieve. What we wanted to do, we even opened Kolomani Communications in Botswana. What we wanted to do is we wanted to create a Southern African, then an African product in terms of branding, packaging, positioning, and quality, consistency in quality. We spent a lot of money bringing in equipment. We opened up recording studios. We were one of the only black-owned companies that were doing their own indigenous productions. You know, that kind of thing. I can call out some names who eventually became superstars. At the time, Kolomani Communications was dealing with talent such as Tongai Arnold Chirisa.
Mm-hmm.
He came through the studio. The twins, musicians.
Roy and Royce?
Roy and Royce came through Kolomani Communications. PK, the rapper. A lot of other youngsters, you know. Some of them are even overseas now, and some are in South Africa. So really we were trying to create a movement that would help and assist and grow Zimbabwean talent.
Tich, why is it after South Africa 98, you never really then took being talent, being behind the mic, on radio, as a main gig? The only time we then saw you coming back again and taking it as a main gig, where you're on a major show like Drive every day, doing radio every day, is your day is when you took up the job to be part of the founding team at Star FM.
At Star FM.
What happened between 98 up until 2012?
I was doing a lot of traveling overseas. I was hoping to establish a business that would go beyond my generation. And one of the things I wanted to do is I wanted to learn. And I traveled a lot. You know that half the time they'd call me, why? I say, I'm in Hong Kong, you know, that kind of thing, you know. I was learning.
Right.
Getting the right kind of context. So we right now we're in the process of building a digital platform, and we should be launching it shortly. And all that I needed to know firsthand how these things work, you know. So yes, I went dark, but the reason why I went dark is I really needed to concentrate, to put my mind at this new thing that I'm talking about. And when the opportunity to get back into radio, as you said, I got back into radio at a different level. I just don't see myself just as a voice anymore. Kolomani Communications, Tich Mataz was embraced by a leading group of companies, Zim Papers. We sat down, we decided we're going to work together to establish one of the biggest radio stations in the country, Star FM.
To be honest, at that point, I was thinking, obviously, Tich is going to try to get his own license. Yeah. Why didn't you get your own license, Tich?
Oh, well, there's a story to that.
Tell me.
No, only 2 licenses were available.
But why didn't you try? Because I thought, obviously, come on now, Tich is gonna try and go for a license, obviously.
Yes, I did try to go for the license. Certain people then called me at the time and said, try next time.
Okay, so certain people.
Yeah. But it's okay.
Okay, I understand.
Yeah.
So, Star FM happens. What was the thought process behind Star FM? Because when I first listened to it, it felt like it was like what the Zimbabwean urbanite had evolved to.
Yes.
That they grew up probably listening to Ngoda.
Yeah.
However, they've got hip hop on their playlist.
Yeah.
But at certain times, they want to reconnect with who they grew up listening to or who they are before they then moved over to this really, to the new position or this new person they've become.
Every 5 to 7 years, the landscape changes.
Right.
Zimbabwe after 98, 2000, a lot of things changed. Talent escaped.
What was happening then? Because you came back and joined what was now 3FM.
Yes.
Not Radio 3.
Yes.
3FM.
Yeah.
What type of an organization was it as compared to when you left it in 91?
Chalk and cheese, my brother. A lot of things had changed.
Was it still as great?
No. The last guy had gone. And for obvious reasons. Some of the finest people and some of the finest voices, some of the finest managers had gone elsewhere. Because what happens is when you're extremely talented in a specific medium, there are a lot of takers. And they're not necessarily just in Zimbabwe. Right now, economies in South Africa, you know, a sizable portion of it is run by Zimbabweans, even in Botswana, even in Malawi,
who are some
places
of
like that.
Managers, which is some of the talent that we probably can identify that were part of the people who left Radio 3 at the time.
Yeah.
And when it morphed into Radio 3, because from the top of my head I can think of Simon Parkins.
Yeah, Simon Parkinson left, John Matinda left, George Munetsi left, joined Kaya. The late Alice Chavuduka left.
Right.
Yeah, she was also on SABC for a while and did a lot of things in South Africa. In the UK, you got your Peter Jones, is late, but he went to the UK. Kelvin Svelland went to the UK. Chaka D went to the States.
Right.
Bridget Gawanga is in the UK.
Is in the UK now.
Yeah, all of these great names who really were the sound.
What about your Eunice Goto?
Eunice Goto is in Canada, I think.
Right.
Yeah. So that's quite a number.
So it was a different space altogether.
Yeah.
Who were some of the names who were there when you now rejoined in 1998?
Munya Mlimo.
DJ Munya was
DJ Munya, yeah. Young, sharp, hot, amazing.
He was killing it.
He was killing it. Yeah, Munya was the Don. Yeah, a lot of young people who then came in. So I want to put it this way. A certain type of Zimbabwean migrated.
The biggest hip-hop album in the States at the moment is Artificial Intelligence from De La Soul. Well, they had it with Shaka Khan. Shaka Khan. Been at it for many, many years, which still sounds fresh and happening. Jam is called All Good. It's all going to be good after the break when we bring you Crystal, Zimbabwe's very own hip-hop kid, on the beat. It's so hot at the moment. Y2K summer is here. If you really want to cool off, it has to be that contour bottle or the can of Coca-Cola. I want to welcome a very talented young man. What's the dilly? Crystal, welcome to Coca-Cola on the beat. You've been busy. You've been working in the studio in the last couple of months. Got a new album out. What you going to call it?
It's the Crystal's title track, baby. Putting it down for all my dogs and my pets. It's going down, baby.
It's going to be the bomber.
It's gonna be off the hook, baby. You know?
The debut album is called?
It's Crystals.
And the debut single?
Viva Babies.
Crystals, Viva Baby, Viva Baby dangu ndati Viva Baby, Viva Baby dangu what? Baby dangu toy yangu, toy, baby dangu toy yangu. Viva Baby, Viva Baby dangu ndati Viva Baby, Viva Baby dangu what? Baby dangu toy yangu.
The replacement had a different orientation. So, but it's boys, you know, from Kumusha, Vakapinda, who were equally aggressive, but may not have looked or sounded like SoProfound, who then came into those spaces and positions. So when we were looking at Star FM, we said Star FM is speaking to a different listener than what Power FM or Radio 3 at its hilt was speaking to.
The listener has changed.
The listener has changed. Now, since the listener has changed, what are the fundamentals that we need to address? So it was the language. It was the content. It was the presenters. It was the stories. The stories had changed. Huh? And importantly, it was the connection between the sound and the style of the station with the listener that is in Zim right now. So, Star FM was born.
What about the programming? Can you just take me through the programming? Because it felt and connected in a certain way. And I just wanted to pick your brain on that. What was this way? What was the idea behind the programming of having Mboffs and Zam
in the morning and
Blackbird?
Blackbird?
I loved that.
That was
morning
killer,
show.
man. That was killer.
Or having Ayati and Tariro mid-morning and Munya just comes and he's just too amazing. And then you kept it off with Drive. And what was the idea of even taking a lot of veteran broadcasters? Because we expected this to be a news station.
Veteran broadcasters, because there are things that you learn on the job you'll never learn in school.
Right.
Yeah. And what we needed to do is we needed to establish a sound and a style in the morning, because that is the time when people connect with their broadcasters. So as you wake up to go to school or to go to work, who do you hear? You hear some of the finest voices, articulation,
and some of the brilliant
knowledge,
minds, really.
wisdom,
Oh,
brilliance.
Man, I loved that breakfast show.
And they represented two different type of listeners. They represented the mature listener, and then representing younger people who are aspiring to become boffs.
With their whiskey type jokes.
Whiskey type jokes. It was always so funny. Blackbird will be thinking, wow, these guys, you know what I mean, as a young Zimbabwean, aspiring Zimbabwean.
When you listen to it now, something went wrong somewhere. Looking from the outside, before we actually talk about what happened for you to leave Zim Papers at the time, right? Which was a great organization. It was moving in the right, it was on the right trajectory. What do you think went wrong? Or is there anything wrong? Or it's just the metamorphosis of an organization that's operating in a tough environment?
Yeah, true. It's metamorphosis. And one thing I really am glad about now is the fact that I've learned how to deal with human beings. They're a very strange creature. And what you've got to be able to do is when you are in contact with people or an organization, you've got to understand their angle, where they are coming from. With Zim Papers, fantastic. I mean, they're a leading broadcasting institution in this country. But there's certain things that I was trying to achieve at a time when they were not ready for it. Yeah. And then obviously we severed our relationship amicably. And then I continue to do the things that I'm doing now. And as you're saying, there are certain changes, there are certain things, that became different, naturally. But I still salute them. They're doing a great job. They gave me an opportunity to do some amazing things in the country at the time, and I wish them well.
Tich, when you think about Tich, clearly you don't have 9 lives. I think you're on your 200 years life.
I think so too.
You're on your 200 years life, right? And there's always that one thing that keeps you going, even in all of this? What is it for you?
God. I have a strong, strange, but strong, powerful relationship with God. He's been really good to me. And I know without a shadow of a doubt, you haven't seen the last of me yet.
I can see that.
Yeah.
I can see that. Tich, I always enjoy talking to you.
Yeah.
I really do. And thank you for just making time to do this.
Thank you.
Just one more thing.
Yes.
Right? At a certain point, you decided you wanted to go watch Michael Jackson live. Tell me about that story.
It was like an acacia jewelry poker, you know. Michael Jackson was doing one of his world tours. This was for the History World Tour. And it was being launched, the History World Tour for, was it 45 countries, if I remember well, was being launched out of Prague. So,
Which year was this?
96, 97?
You decided, oh well, why not?
Why not? Let's go see Michael.
And you went out, watched Michael.
Watch Michael. Met Michael there.
You
met
met
him
Michael?
twice. Yeah. Met Michael in Prague. Met Michael in Zimbabwe with Philip Chiango. Akapeka brother Philip.
Wait!
Fitza my nigga.
How did you meet Michael for the first time?
It was a press briefing, and I'd gone into Prague and obviously color, and I used my experiences in South Africa at the time and the fact that I was representing 5FM as well. You know, Michael came in. He came into a room. We asked him questions, press briefing, and then after he said a little something, and then he met the people who were part of the press team.
But have you ever been starstruck though?
Michael, yes. Who else? I wanted to meet one of the persons I really wanted to meet was James Brown. James Brown's story is phenomenal.
So why didn't you meet James?
When I went to the States quite a number of times, but you know, James was going through all kinds of things. James,
he had issues.
James, he performed, he stopped, he had issues with his wife, with the tax man, drug-related issues, you couldn't see him, and then he died.
Ah.
Yeah.
But he was a great man.
He was a great man. I saw Independence, 1980. We walked from Highfields to go and see
Rufaro.
to Rufaro.
To watch Bob Marley.
To go watch Bob Marley.
Was he as magical as...
Oh man, he was amazing. He was amazing. Yeah.
Tich, there's one more story and then we shut this thing down. You walk into a store this one time and you're doing shopping. I don't remember well whether it was with your wife or you were alone, but the people, they couldn't believe that there's a black man spending this amount of money in this shop.
Yeah.
Tell me about that story.
My wife and I had gone on holiday to Denmark.
Such a random place.
Yeah.
But when you have money, I think you can think of random
So
places.
you open
to
up
do.
the atlas and you point. Okay, let's go there next time.
We're in Denmark.
We're in Denmark. So whilst we were in Denmark, and remember we're young, you know, we're kids with money. We left our hotel and we decided we're going to go shopping. So we went into one of this really expensive, exquisite shop, and they just opened up their doors. And so my wife and I walked in, and I think the owner came in and he was looking at and especially me, funny. He says, "Are you looking for something?" I said, "Yeah." He says, "Has somebody sent you?" I said, "No." He says, so why don't you leave?" I said, "No, I'm a customer. I want to buy." He says, "The things in this shop are really expensive." I said, "Oh, really?" I had a bag of money. Just to make a point, I bought things I didn't need.
What?
I'm telling you, it's racism, but these things work.
Tich, I almost always ask this question whenever I interview great people or whenever I have a conversation with great people, that if your life was a book, what would be the title of your book? I have a title.
Yes.
It's been one hell of a ride. Thank you.
So profound.
Yes, sir.
Thank you very much. You're doing well. You're the future of broadcasting, not just in Zimbabwe, in the region and beyond. The future of broadcasting is content. Africa has no content. This, what we have just done, is great content, because this speaks not just to SoProfound or Tich Mataz and their experiences. This right here will shape other people's destinies.
I knew this was going to be a perfect intro, but how can I forget how you met Moji?
Moji, what's happening? Moji is a family.
How did you meet Moji? And at the time, you were such a young man.
I was a young man, and Moji's mother worked next door to my house. And this little man, very clever young man,
What do you mean? Where were you staying at the time?
in Veltevreden Park. Again, this is young black family. Had just moved into the neighborhood. And I remember people used to look at us funny, thinking, "Do you work at that house?" I said, "No, I actually own this house." And so little Mo would come to my house
And spend time at
and
you.
spend time
Because
at
you had
my
all
house.
the nice toys.
You know what I mean? And we loved him so much. He really became a family member.
So how then did he end up on radio?
So I think I became a mentor, an inspiration, and I would take him around to Mataz Connection, to the clubs, etc.
Wasn't he
was my
underage?
bag. He was underage. Poor Moji.
Poor Mo, man. Poor Mo.
Yeah. And I said to him, "What do you want to do?" He says, "No, I want to do what you're doing." You know, so I would train him a little.
At 5FM?
At
Because
5.
that was his first gig.
Yeah, his first gig was at 5 a.m.
And you made it happen?
I made it happen.
How?
I made a call.
Tich, you need to make calls for me, man.
So profound, you're the man.
Thank
God
you,
bless.
man. But Tich, just one more thing. Are you ever gonna go back to South Africa?
Yeah, it's part of Africa. And I'm an African.
Nice. Tich, thank you, man.
See you soon.
I appreciate it. Outside. Is that soon enough?
Start up the phonograph. People's in the place to be. This is dope on plastic.
Party people in the place to be. Want a fresh style? Let me show you.
People's in the place to be. This is dope on plastic.
Party people in the place to be. Want a fresh style? Let me show you.